Bing. And we're live. Welcome to another episode of the 618 Podcast. And today our special guest is Lonnie Jackson. With the 40. So yeah, man. So we all know you're a tattoo artist here at 618 and you do killer ass work. So anyways, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you guess you became a tattoo artist here? Or?
Man, it ain't really like your cliche fucking. I love tattooing, growing up and seeing people and reading magazines and all that stuff. I always loved art. I loved every sort of medium when it comes to clay or drawing or like anything. I loved art, and mostly it's when I do art, my brain gets a little bit quiet from all the fucking noise all day long. We can cuss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it's hard not to. But yeah, like when I do art, everything goes quiet, and I can really just focus on it and nothing else. And most of the day, I can't do that. So it really it's always relaxed me. So I remember my dad had a little tattoo on his hand, and I thought it was really cool. And then my older sister started getting tattooed when oh man, we were 6 years apart. So I was probably 10, she was 16, 17 getting tattooed. And I don't know, it was more like it was cool. So that and being art, it just kind of caught on to me. But I still never thought about being a tattoo artist because back then no one was tattooing. You're talking early 90s, it wasn't a cool thing to do. It was more underground. And I remember I got in some trouble. I went to prison for quite a long time. And while I was in work release, there was a homie of mine who always talked about he used to tattoo down in New Orleans. And we were roommates. And he had equipment. So by this time, like before I even went to the joint, I had a full sleeve chest piece all the way down. My homie, he's Chris Evans out in Colorado. He's a badass. He's been doing it for so long. But by the time I got to work release, I was already tattooed up. So my homie Casey that had the equipment that worked in New Orleans, I asked him, let me just borrow your stuff on a weekend pass. And I just wanted to try to tattoo myself. And just because I wanted a tattoo, really. We weren't allowed to go to shops and get tattoos. So I remember bringing the equipment home. And like back then, you didn't have YouTube videos to watch or anything like that. It was trial and fucking error.
Yes,
You're setting the needle out like the length of a fucking, like I'm saying a quarter inch, and dude, it was so fucking so crazy. But I would just tattoo on the inside of my left thigh, and most artists know this. You've done it yourself. That's where you start because you can stretch your skin, and it's right there in front of you. Until you're old, you can cross your fucking legs up.
Yep.
So I remember doing that, and I lived in these apartments in a cornfield, and I was like, man, that ain't too bad. So then the neighbors, they were like, bro, you could tattoo on us and try to get better. And I was like, fuck yeah, it's a fun thing to do. It seems cool. So I was doing that on weekends at the work release. So by the time I get out of work release, I'm like going house to house in Decatur, Illinois, to you name it, whose house. I didn't know them, but I knew them through people, and I was just traveling house to house in Decatur, just tattooing everybody. And looking back, like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but like I said, I had ordered a few DVDs there was maybe like 3 tattoo websites back then, not like it is now, and one was Mike DeVries or DeVries. I'm sorry, I think it's DeVries. And what's his name? He does black and gray, maybe from Detroit. Bald. He's got gray hair, a beard. Lydell.
Oh, Lyle Tuttle? Or no?
No, not Tuttle.
Oh, is it? It's not that.
No, I can't remember. I'll have to look him up. I'm sorry, but he had another DVD that was doing black and gray portraits.
Okay.
So.
Oh yeah, it definitely wasn't Lyle. Lyle Tuttle was
it wasn't Lyle Tuttle. He was like machines and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This dude don't do machines.
Yeah.
He's just badass at black and gray, and he had DVDs you could watch. So I'd start watching those, and that was kind of to get the gist of it. And then my sister married a tattoo artist in Florida at the time, so I could call him up and get advice from him. And then there was the Tattoo Bible, I think it was called, you could get, and it'd teach you the old school machines. You'd set the needle depth out, a dime for lining or nickel for shading or vice versa, one or two. And it was just so different back then, and it was really cool, like looking back on it. But that's kind of how I got started. Was just through work release and art and tattooing myself in Decatur. And then it was crazy because when I got out of work release finally, and I was going house to house, a homie that I had met down in Vienna, Illinois, when we were in prison back in like '05. His name's you gotta edit this part out.
Yeah, I know, bro. I knew as soon as that happens, man, you're gonna fucking. That happens to me all the time. My lady was afraid of this.
Anyway, my homie down in Vienna, he opened a shop up in Ottawa, Illinois, and me and my wife were living in Decatur, and he got a hold of me, and he's like, "Bro, you need to come up here and work with me, because you're good enough, you know." And he's like, "I'll teach you everything that's going on." So I had a really good job at the time, so it was like hard to even grasp the fact I could be a tattoo artist. But I was like, fuck it. My wife talked me into it. She's the one that like convinced me we could do it, and we quit our jobs. It was like a week before Christmas in like 2013. Yeah, like 2013, and we just up and moved up by Chicago, and that's how it all started. Just got thrown into the fire, and just no apprenticeships.
Was that from your homie I met up in Chicago at the convention? That dude? Yeah, that dude was cool as shit,
dude,
man.
He asked me to get
Denzel looking at his motherfucker. I love that dude.
No, so that's lazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's lazy. He was the barber in the tattoo shop.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was me, Aaron. He was the owner, and we were tattooing. He got an apprentice. We called her Boots. Since then, I wish I knew what she was doing now. She went to Chicago fucking Art Institute of Art or whatever it is, and got a scholarship in college. And that's and that's what she's been doing. But it was us tattooing, and then there was Lazy, the dude you met, Mike. They were barbers in the back.
Nice.
So it's like a tattoo barbershop, which ain't the most hygienic place to work at, dude. Like, you'd come in, wipe the table down.
I got a hair on my tattoo.
You wipe the table down, and there's just hair all over it, man.
Fuck.
Like, they didn't have a separate vent system in the back.
Oh,
it was
shit.
just, and we did the best we could, man. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Looking back on how we do things now, yeah, completely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't believe there was a point in time in tattooing where they weren't even wearing gloves. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I see them old school videos of them dudes with no gloves. I'm just like,
The fucking washcloth. Maybe even not even that, like a car rag and just going down the sleeve of their shirt.
I know when I started tattooing, it wasn't very hygienic. You know what I'm saying? Just because I started, I got fortunate enough that my sister's sperm donor, his dad was a tattoo artist. He worked at a place called Doc's in Collinsville, and I was like, no shit. He would take steal his dad's flash and bring it to me, and I'd tattoo him for this flash. And at that point in time, I felt I kind of thought I know this is gonna be important. I made so much money off this flash, bro. I survived for 10 years. I made thousands of dollars doing homemade tattoos just off this flash.
That's what it used to be. Was flash.
It was flash. That was fucking gold.
You went into tattoo shops and their walls were flash and their books were flash, and you picked,
gold.
There was no going in there to create an original tattoo.
Yeah, no.
It was you pick out what the shit was. You could change it up a little bit if your tattoo artist was creative and felt like doing it. But no, it was fucking flash, like preset designs. That's it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like American traditional preset flash, and it was like a style you went to was American traditional. No, it was just whatever style they did.
Yeah.
You got it in that flash tattoo.
And it just happened to be the sailor type of stuff with those kind
Sailor
of people.
Jerry,
traditional style work, which is, I respect it, but people don't really want that these days. I mean, old school people who have that
we're biased because Daddy owes.
True.
I like traditional American traditional. There's a style to it. There's math to it, like thirds or whatever. But yeah, if you don't appreciate it, then you just look at it. So, and don't get me wrong, some of the designs look like kids drip.
Yeah.
Some of the designs are not good.
Yeah.
They're not really, but it reverts back or I don't even know that's the fucking right word.
Yeah.
It goes back to the old school artists and just creating their designs over and over.
Yeah.
Not putting too much of a spin on it, because if you do, then it's neo-traditional.
Right.
But yeah, just keeping to that old school, whatever the design was, And I get it. And my whole left arm is almost all traditional.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can appreciate it, then yeah, it just looks kind of basic.
Yeah,
That
that's what I'm
basic
saying.
bitch.
It just looks basic to me, which is fine. I mean, it's not that I don't diss it because I know you got good, crispy, clean lines, good saturation and colors. I understand that
Pretty easy to get those crispy clean lines with a
Yeah.
14 round liner.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the whip shading that's fucking. That's
Yeah.
that takes a little getting used
Yeah,
to.
making sure you're going that one direction instead of multi-directional stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you? So what type of machine did you have when you first started, how did you acquire that machine?
What was the website? There was, like I said, there was about 3 back in the day. Cam wasn't one of them because Cam, you had to have a Cam Supply. You used to have a shop license or a EIN number,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a friction tattoo or something like that. And there wasn't like batteries. There wasn't rotary
Right.
machines. It was coil machines.
Yep.
It was I don't even remember if it was even a good brand. One was the Goyette Brothers. It was this weird fucking square coils. Yeah, they were fucking square.
Wow.
And
I've never
maybe
seen
that was
those.
just the casing, because inside I don't see how you could square up the fucking copper, but I guess you could if it was a square block. But didn't work that well. And then the owner boss, Aaron Harvey, he tried to get me on with a Dragonfly,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like a cheap version of the Dragonfly. And I was like, bro, I can't do this one. So it was just like these 2 old school fucking. No, so there was a guy on. Oh, I think it was Facebook.
Did you let her?
Yeah, I think it was Facebook. So it wasn't back in the day to fucking what was the other site?
The Spalding and Rogers?
No, before Facebook.
Oh, before Facebook.
What was it? Just
MySpace.
MySpace.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. I don't think it was back then, but there was a dude in Britain. He hand custom made machines, and I got cool with him online. And yeah, I'll hit it once. I got cool with him online, and you could send him whatever picture you wanted on the coil, whatever color combo you wanted on it.
That's
on,
dope.
On the fucking any part of it, you get every part of it. You can get different colors, and he'd always put this British coin on one of the screws, or no, the tightener on the front of the coil, like the needle. You know, you put your back in the day your bar needle through,
Mm-hmm.
and it would tighten down, and it was this custom like British coin. But Aiden McSpratt, that's his name.
Cool.
Aiden McSpratt, dude, it was fucking awesome. So I had 2 custom made machines, one liner, one shader, because back then you had to have difference. And that's what I worked for a long time. Even when fucking coil machines came around, I stuck with that liner, because that liner, I wish I still had it to this day. 1 pass lines, boom.
Gotta
Boom.
love that shit.
Like, you never had to go back. You never had to fucking like sculpt them. It was just boom, you were done.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to get used to a coil that doesn't go from. I don't know. It does go from A to B, but like, it doesn't have that give like a rotary. It doesn't have the give like a coil does.
Yeah.
I don't know. I miss the coil machines.
I do too, man. My hands don't miss it, but I definitely miss it.
Hands.
Yeah.
You have a money bump?
Oh, a what?
A money bump.
Probably where?
You're right-handed. Let me see
Yeah.
your middle finger. So
All
get
right.
out like this, like your flip would be off sideways. See this bump?
Yep.
Right here? That's called a money bump. So your machine, I'm not kidding you, the fucking grip.
Just like a fucking mechanics. They say this is
so
mechanics
do this.
fucking thing.
Do this, like you're holding your machine. It sits through here.
Yeah.
Right there on that bump. Put your finger out.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah.
See mine?
Yeah.
Your
Sure
coil
do.
machine used to sit on that spot
Yeah.
with the vibration. And also, I bet you have a callus right here that builds up on your neck.
Yeah, I do.
I do too, right there.
Yeah.
That's where your machine vibrated and
Nice.
hit in that skin.
Wow.
And it built up these money bumps. And you can Google them. Old school artists have them like this fucking big. Those
No
big
shit.
ass wart. And that's from them
Yeah.
fucking coil machines sitting on it, vibrating and building up that money
Man,
bump.
yep.
And they call it that because the bigger the bump, the more money you make.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
Shit, bro. I've been doing this shit fucking hot and heavy for 25 years, bro.
yeah, I can tell because we got
Shit.
money bumps.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's cool. I didn't know that. I knew they had
New artists
mechanics.
don't know that shit.
Yeah.
Cats don't know that.
Yeah, I knew mechanics had that little fucking this right here from turning a wrench apparently, which I
Sitting
got.
on it.
I got a decent one too, but I'm not a mechanic.
See, I mean, that's from you working out. You got some big
Yeah.
ass fucking hands.
Yeah.
Like all muscle and shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, them old school fucking coils, man. I remember one time here at this shop, there was a storm going on, and the power, the internet went out first. The power didn't go out yet. The internet went out, so there was no music. And Justin Boland was up here, I was up here, and we kind of looked around, and his client goes, Man, it's so quiet. You can hear a mouse fart. Like, all you heard was like vibrators.
Yep.
Throughout the shop, just like a couple
Dude.
vibrators, just vibrating, and that's it.
When I first started, dude, it's a Coke. I had my one coil machine, the liner, and I remember Coke. My first day of there, Coke goes, "Hey Tom, you know you make an awful lot of noise over there," and I fucking went straight to the fucking rotaries ever since, bro.
Bowling used to be the holdout before you got here up at the other shop, and it was like he'd be the only one to stop in and be like, "Brrr," and we're all looking.
Yeah.
Catch up
Quiet
to the
down
time,
there,
man. Catch up, bro.
Ah, shit, that's fucking hilarious.
Yep,
dude.
so he don't use a coil no more. But he used it for a long ass time.
Yeah.
When you got here and you're like, oh shit,
Yeah,
you've been here,
quiet.
motherfucker. Switch.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm glad though. It took me a minute to switch over from the rotaries, you know, because Matt was talking them all high up and like that. And when I first got him, I was like, but you know,
You have to adjust.
Yeah, you definitely have to adjust. And
I'm.
my hands thank me for it. I know I've added on another 10 or so plus years to my hands.
I can retire doing tattoos now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, as long as I don't get Parkinson's, I think I'm good to go.
The only area is like tennis elbow, but the cool thing is like I feel like a chick getting a fucking boob job. Hold on. Hold on.
You sit on top of the table.
Like, can I hear it? Can you hear it?
You can if you speak close enough to it.
Oh, I gotta set this down so I can get tall enough. Yeah, there we go. So my elbow's got a little tennis elbow, but like pushing, it doesn't hurt. So when I'm stretching the skin, it don't hurt at all. It's just pulling and shit like that.
Yeah.
So that's just part of getting old.
Yep. Yeah, I got that same fucking issue going on too.
Where'd you start tattooing?
So I started homemade tattoo. So what happened was my cousin Shannon was tattooing one year up at my uncle's house in Allen, Texas. I remember everybody being like, "Hey, stay out of the garage, you know, Shannon's tattooing." And I looked up Shannon too, because him and his brother both were fucking badass artists. Shannon was a home tattooer. Huh?
What town?
San Antonio is where Shannon and Nick's from. Nick is a professional graffiti artist. I would have loved to have had him do something, dude. He's a beast with it.
We had a dude come into the shop up north in Ottawa and graffiti the fucking.
Yeah, dude. Nick would be Nick's been graffiti artist since like the early 90s, like legit, or like 92, something like that. So I just thought everybody was worshiping Shannon, stay out of the garage and don't come in there. And I'm just like, man, I want to be like him, I wanted my family's attention and shit. So years later, about 17 years old, my mom was dating some dude that was in prison. So I asked him, I said, hey, man, I got bored one day. Hey, man, how you do this? And he told me a few things, and I put together, and it was just, I made this tiny little machine. It's just a little bitty thing. And I couldn't get the ink right. He said,
was it made?
How was it made?
Because before I started, when we were 16, we had a homemade machine that I tattooed. The very first tattoo I ever had was on my stomach by myself. So I got the first tattoo I ever did, and the first tattoo I got.
I was on my ankle.
It was God. See that G-O-D?
Yep.
Yeah. Do it. I was snorting coke off a fucking carnival mirror.
I got a J, bro. Look,
fucking.
I got a J.
Yes,
I couldn't even get past the fucking Joseph.
I couldn't think of anything else but God, and like I was like, fuck it, God. That was So what was your machine? How was it?
Well, mine was so I took a fucking like an old cassette tape player or VCR motor, probably cassette tape player at the time.
Show car motor.
Yeah, something along them lines, a little bit of rotary. I used a little small. I don't remember exactly how I did the small one, but when I went back to when I went to this telemarketing place I was working at, as I first met my first baby mama, I wanted to impress her, and the dude I was working with was in prison, and he was a GD.
BMs.
he was a GD member in the prison, and he knew how to tattoo and shit. And he told me how he built his machine, so I went home and replicated his, and it was a toothbrush bent back a little bit to make like a little L shape. And then I'd take a Papermate pin and I'd poke the fucking little ball out of the end of it, so because the sewing needle would fit perfectly down inside there. I'd take a sewing needle, wrap it in thread all right around the top, shove it inside a little, a pin tube where the ink's at, blow all the ink out, get it all cleared out, and shove that motherfucker up inside there. Put a little paper clip. I make a little eye loop at the bottom, put a little L at the top, shove it inside that pin tube. I'd have me a needle bar, which what I'm saying. Sometimes you'd reuse the fucking needle and shit. I was doing it on my sister and my brother. Dude, I spilled.
Party and we were passing the motherfucker around.
Yeah, I misspelled my brother's name on his back for his first tattoo.
Thing, so it was all fucking virgins just sharing a needle, so there was no risk of nothing.
Yeah, dude. Fucking. But yeah, it was just one of those things. I had a little VCR motor at the top. I put 2 fucking zip ties on top. I got a little power supply, and then he told me where to get the ink at. And I just so happened there was a fucking little art supply store down on in Alton and off Broadway, and they had the speedball. Yeah, it was speedball.
Okay.
And you know, did you know? I don't know if you knew this or not. I might have told you this before, but did you know it's not Indian ink? It's India ink.
Really?
Everyone's always said Indian.
Indian ink.
I've never once ever seen anything with Indian on it, but I did see it with India.
India.
And that's what people in prison would use. They would mistake it for Indian, but it's actually called India ink.
Huh.
It says it on the bottle, on the speedball bottle.
Yeah.
There was also Higgins too. It was all basic pen ink, but you could use it for tattoos and shit. And once I fucking got the ink to take, fuck, I was off and popping from that point.
I do not remember the ink we used when I was like 16 or I was 16 going on 17 because I did my hand too. Fucking stomach and hand. This is the first tattoo.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, mine was not the first one, but that was
my
yeah.
second one. That one, and then Rudy Olivares. He's the one that came up with the machine from Texas. Speaking of, he was from Texas.
Nice.
Brother from another mother. He did my LJ.
What that?
You hold it upside down, and it's a 17. And if you fold it, it's my lucky number 7.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and for some reason we did a star around it. But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember the fucking ink, but I do remember him saying Indian ink.
Yeah, people did say that, and the thing is the reason why I'm pretty sure it's almost possible. I've never once seen any bottle that said Indian, but I did see it say India, and I know that people, you know, in prison they could probably you know get shit mixed up by saying, you know what I'm saying, like I can see where it could get misconstrued into Indian,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, fucking once that happened, dude, I started going off and popping and started tattooing. And what was crazy, I worked at this other telemarketing place. Once I got the baby mama or the girl I wanted at the time, unfortunately, I had fucking, I ended up, you know what I'm saying? But this one girl came up to me one time and says, "Oh, you do tattoos?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I just started," you know. And she's like, "How much you charge?" And I was like, at that point in time, I thought, people pay money for this shit?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, like $5 or $10, pack of cigarettes or something, you know what I'm saying?
Fun fucking thing to do.
Yeah.
Money on?
Yeah, dude. And I was like, people started flooding me. People don't give a fuck if it's free or if it costs $5. It could be shitty or not, dude. They'll rep that fucking shit like it's the best they've ever had. And I know that's silly now because I'm now where I'm at, but
Art's in the eye.
that's how that's true. That's how motherfuckers back in the day would just talk highly. I thought I was legitimately, I swear, I came work this place. 618 Inc. humbled the fuck out of me. Because I came here not thinking I was the best, but coming off of the thought from realizing that I wasn't the best because everybody would build me up to say I was the best. And then I get around you guys, and I'm like, oh no, I had to really step my game up.
Dude, I moved to town, and I was about the only one tattooing except for Daddy-O's, and opened a shop in Central City because a homie of mine like backed me and fucking financially opened the shop. He had nothing to do with tattoos. He just put all the money up to open this shop.
That dude,
get the spot.
Your buddy,
Josh Donahue. He owns Silver Age Collectibles, but yeah, he's the one that fucking got me into it and got me got me started and so
believed in you.
I just started out having a shop as the man, quote unquote, and in your head you're like, yeah, you're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then when that fell apart, and I'd never met Matt, and someone put me up with Matt, and we started talking. And he's like, he welcomed me. And I started working with him, and I remember seeing this first fucking tattoo he did, this LSU Tigers tattoo on this dude's leg. And I had never done this. I broke out my phone and started shooting a video, and I was like, holy shit, dude. That put me in my spot. I was like, I'm nowhere near this. Like,
yeah.
Fuck, this dude's already, like, killing it. Like, I've never done a tattoo like that before.
Yeah.
And it just blew me away to where I was like, yeah, I got a lot to learn.
Yep.
You know, I think and it ain't even the 618 everyone gets humbled by. It's Matt.
Yeah.
Owning 618. You're just like,
yeah.
Fuck, dude's good, man.
Yeah, that's all I heard. Honestly, when I was working at Samurai, when I first come up to here, right? This is another thing.
I'd never fucking heard of the dude before.
Neither have I.
Like,
neither have I. But check this out, bro. I fucking got off dope and all that shit and got my life together. And then I had my Facebook profile on private so people couldn't really look me up. I was just weird like that, right?
Yeah.
And so one day I had to make a new Facebook because I got unbanned on the other one. And I didn't set the privacy things on there. So this dude hit me up and was like, "Hey man, I see you do decent tattoos, looking for a job." And I was thinking, I don't do good out of the house, but I do good because I'm making 100%. And I do have my clients, and but it's not as constant. I'm like, maybe. So I checked the stuff out. His shop was up and running a little bit, so he sought me out, right? I come up to his shop. I ended up doing a little bit here and there. Met my buddy Dustin, Opa. He's a really cool dude. He actually helped get me going from the Amazon buyer of needles and machines on Amazon and I went to Area 51 over in St. Louis for years to get my needles and shit and get my inks. Kurosumi, I always
There
use
was
the
a head
best.
shop over there.
Yeah, that's
City
the
Lanes
one.
had one too.
And I would always get the top of the line inks that they had. You know what I'm saying? Kurosumi and fucking Fusion, or not Fusion. They didn't have that at the time. It was just
Starbright.
Kurosumi, Starbright too.
Eternal.
Eternal, yeah, that one. And so so, anyways, long story short, Dustin goes over to fucking Samurai and he lets me meet up with Jimmy. And so I was like, dude, I didn't really want to work at that shop no more because Dustin
Jimmy
was
Ryan.
Jimmy
Took a
Ryan,
lot of
yeah.
people's spots.
Oh yeah. And fucking so Jimmy gave me a spot up at his shop and then Dustin took off and did his own little thing. So I ran up with Jimmy for a little bit. And then Coke I was actually trying to go back to fucking Granite City where the kids were and shit to kind of go back there and see what was up because I wasn't really going no further. And Coke hits me up and was like, I said, babe, I said, Coke's hit me up. I didn't even know him at the time. I just talked to him a couple times on Facebook. I comment on some shit. He's, of his shit. I was a big fan of his work. Love his black and gray. And so I answered it, and he's like, hey, man, you still looking for a job? And I was like, I played off so smooth. I was like, nah, man, I'm trying to go back towards Granite, I said, he's like, well, I showed Matt some of your work. Matt Helm, because at this time I was hearing you, Coke, and Matt Helm all day long at fucking Samurai. That's all your three names. I didn't even know that people worked up there at 618 because that's all I heard you guys' name. And I was like, he's like, yeah, I showed Matt some of your work. He said he'd come up and talk to him, and I was thinking, I said, that's cool, man. I said, I'll think about it. I hung up the phone. As soon as I hung up the phone, bro, I said, babe, I'm going to 618. You know what I'm saying? I was like, holy shit, our life's gonna change, babe. Our life's gonna change. And it fucking did, bro. It fucking did. I have brothers now here in this place, and I'm not intimidated by. At first, I was. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Matt, you, Coke. I'm like, fuck. But
even for me, because when I came up here, Coke was already here. There was Coke, Craig, and Matt. I was already, like I said, the first tattoo I seen, automatic intimidation. Like I'd seen Coke's black and gray all through his journey before tattooing.
Yep.
I'm sure you'll get him on here hopefully. But like, the big black and gray pieces, and it was like, fuck, I can't do black and gray like that. And I see Matt do that fucking color piece, and I'm just like, I can't do that either. What the fuck? I'm a line guy, like lining, like fucking. So I delved into that because my lining goes back to man, you had to outline. So if someone wanted a phrase down their thigh, you sketched out their thigh size, and then you printed down a fucking alphabet to about the size of what them letters were going to be, and you hand stenciled every fucking letter. You drew it first, and then hand stenciled it. So by the time you tattooed it, you already drew that fucking thing 3 times.
Yeah.
So that's where my lining comes into. So it was like I just reverted to like, okay, I'll just do all the fucking line work the best I can and just start killing that and then get better as I go. So it's like you get intimidated when you come here.
Mm-hmm.
You have to.
Yep.
Like, we're the biggest shop around. Like, we got the best artists around. We got like the best owner around. We got the best.
Oh, yeah, we've got it made, bro. Fuck.
The name 618. Everyone knows
shit.
it. We got wrestlers repping our shit. We got wrestling organizations repping our shit. We got business
people in Germany.
Shit, man. Like we go wide. Like there's a lot of people that come to all of us for tattoos. We're the only shop around unless you want to get traditional.
That's true.
Then you go to Daddy-O's.
Yep. Yeah.
You can do all that shit. So it's like, you come here and you're intimidated because there ain't a lot of people that come here very frequently. I think Justin and Anthony, they'd come here pretty close. Anthony came a year or so before I left for that little brief period. Justin came after I left, and then by the time I come back, the only person we took on was Phaedra. Yeah. Well, Jimmy Ryan. But I ain't seen him since he come in. But Phaedra, other than that, like, it's we keep it pretty close. But then you think about it, we got 9 full-time tattoo artists that make a living from a small town. It's pretty fucking amazing if you think about it. Like that's usually a city-sized shop. You don't get with Jimmy 10 artists plus 2 piercers, so 12 employees. People, employees that make a living. Off the name of 618 and the talent we have.
Dude, I met a really cool ass dude just by throwing the 618 ink out there one time on Marketplace. I do that shit sometimes. I was like, I work with Matt. Yeah. And people were biting on it. But I met this really cool dude who fucking loves me, and I'm going to shout his name out. Dude, my buddy DJ, and he's got ALS. And I met him randomly on a message saying, hey, I blah, 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 blah. And he's like, well, I
like the National League.
He says, he said I get it. That took me a second, like a second.
Baseball knowledge.
Yeah, but yeah, man, he's a great dude. But I met a few people off his name. Just but you gotta live up to that name too. I haven't made.